But let's do this thing here, Aaron Torres. This is something that we kicked around, and it involves, and we had Andrew Brandt on, the former NFL executive, is talking about Dak and his contract or whatever, and Tua and what the deal is and how come these guys don't have contracts. And when it comes to the Dolphins and the Cowboys, and those two quarterbacks, you're pretty much convinced of both of those and know where you stand as far as signing them to a new deal. Is that a fair way of describing how you look at those two?
I would describe that very fairly and accurately, yes. No, I think that, look, there is a difference between a guy that is totally incapable of doing the job, Zach Wilson, say, and somebody who's a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, etc. And so when I look at these two guys, I just think they're really good quarterbacks and they help you win. But in the cases of both of them, especially Dak Prescott, there are really good players that like Micah Parsons is one of the best players in the league, if not the best at his position. CeeDee Lamb, I would say, is one of the best players in the league, probably not the best, but pretty close at his position.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like those guys want big deals, and you got to give it to them because you can't get rid of them. And with Dak, it's not that I don't think he's a bum. Get rid of him. He's the worst quarterback I've ever seen. But we got 8-9 years that show that you kind of have a ceiling with him, and you certainly need as much talent around him as you can have. And so I just think you have to make sure the other guys actually get taken care of before you worry about Dak. And then with Tua, it's kind of the same where it's listen, I was on air live during that playoff game last year against Kansas City. That was a team that melted down late in the season. They had the division wrapped up, completely fell apart. The Bills come in late in the season to Miami, beat them head-to-head, win the AFC East. And I just look at both those quarterbacks the same. They're not Zach Wilson. They're not completely incapable of being NFL starters. But you can't just pay them whatever they want, because that's how it's gone before, where every quarterback that's up for a contract just gets the next biggest deal.
I understand all that, but it all has to be relative to your franchise as well. Like the Dolphins have been looking for a quarterback for a long time.
Fair.
Let's just, at least you consider the Cowboys that Tony Romo had success for a number of years. And I'm not going to, and Dak, for all of his shortcomings, they've won 12 games the last 3 years. Like,
sure.
Okay, put up numbers, whatever you want to say. But if you're the Dolphins, like, what is your alternative other than trying to nickel and dime and make Tua not feel like he's worthy of being paid on par? How can you look at, if you're Tua and see Daniel Jones got what was it, 45? What did Daniel Jones make? 45 some odd $1 million, and you want to pay him less than that? This guy put up a 70 piece. Say whatever you want.
Let me ask you a quick question. Trevor Lawrence and I'm not a big Trevor Lawrence guy, but he just signed a 5-year, $275 million contract. And so Trevor Lawrence is whatever, but clearly that organization believes that he is the present and future of that organization, the way you're talking about. If Tua comes to you and says, I want $1 more than Trevor Lawrence at 55,
or at least 39 cents more, right?
39 cents more. Would you, if you're Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, Michigan man, Wolverine, would you sign that check?
I'm not saying that it has to be directly like tit for tat, and whoever got that, I need $1 more, 50 cents more, because I'm the man and I want to be because that's going to be out the window for the next guy. So that's irrelevant. But it's got to be in the ballpark of what quarterbacks are making. And here's the thing. Without a quarterback in today's NFL, you have no shot.
You're right.
The Jets had a good defense last year. No quarterback.
Right.
What'd they do? They won 7 games, and they were irrelevant. Correct?
Correct, but let me ask you a question. You're right. No, correct.
So if you're the Dolphins and you want to play that game, you can play that game. And here's the issue that I have. Some of the other guys, Trevor Lawrence took a step back last year,
no
right?
Doubt,
okay?
No doubt.
But here's Tua. Going into last year, he can't stay healthy. He was healthy all year, right? Okay. He led the league in passing yards, 4,600. while ranking in the top 5 in completions, touchdowns, and first downs. What more does he need to now? You can talk about, well, they didn't win the playoff game and they did this because they played in the cold and come up with all the other things. He ain't the only one playing. I'm saying when you look at what he put on the table, and the biggest one, staying healthy. It's because there's no guarantee. Well, I need to see another year. You could sign him, and he could be healthy next year and then get hurt the year. Once a guy plays all the games, it's a crapshoot. Correct? You don't know if a guy. I thought Justin Herbert took a step back last year.
Oh, he did.
I did. He got a big contract. I think he took a step back. It could happen, but I don't know if there's anything else Tua needs to do for me. I'm willing to pay him amongst the top tier quarterbacks. I just based off of A, I don't have a replacement. B, I've gone through all these quarterbacks over the years. Last year they had a really good team. They had some big wins. You know, like they played well. I know, like the way they went out in the playoffs wasn't great. But I don't know what else he needs to do or what you need to see to feel good.
The one thing I will say about Tua, I think the point about they went so long without a quarterback that does play a role. And it's you know the analogy that I'm thinking in my head. It's like Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. It's like if Jalen Brunson was a Laker, Rob G, you'd be like, it's just another guy. But because it's the Knicks and they've been irrelevant forever and he kind of fits the city.
And all they did was go to the second round.
Yeah,
it wasn't like he went to the finals and people are going crazy. You're absolutely right. In that circumstance, he's like, they want to build a statue. Am I right? Like, based off of what?
And that was kind of Tua for like the first 12 weeks of the season last year. I will say, I know you said don't use this as an argument, but it's tough because last year, him being healthy was actually the outlier. And you never want to say it like that.
But that's what he had to do for you to feel, am I right? Course. If he would have missed 4 games, then I could see if you're going, he missed 4 games, he wasn't healthy, we're a little afraid, another concussion, or whatever it is. The dude played all 17 games.
Did. Would you agree on Dak, though? Do you think that, especially because they have the 2 young guys that are coming up?
Dak is different from me.
Okay.
I know what Dak is.
Okay.
And I'm not ready to pay $60 million for that.
Thank you.
Tua, I don't know what he is. I don't. He showed me last year. I just gave you the numbers. He showed me something.
Yeah, he did.
Is that the ceiling, or is there another place? And that was what was so surprising. And even you cannot not see the 70-point game.
You're right. No, listen, but you could counter. I can't not see completely falling apart against the Bills.
I get it.
Cold weather, Kansas City. I just think for me, and I know it's such a crappy way to talk about things, but the injury stuff, it does bother me. And I know it shouldn't, and I know it's not right, but when you are at Alabama and for 2 years in a row you can't stay healthy, when you come to the NFL and you can't stay healthy, and I know he gained a bunch of weight, and there was some analyst was like, he looks too heavy to me, he looks thick, he looks whatever. Right. They said it on TV. It's like, and so I get it. I guess what I'm saying is I understand first of all, I do understand the argument of it's the Dolphins. It could be worse because they've seen it worse. And I understand the argument that maybe there's more to him and there's more to see. But I look at the way his career had gone up to last year, and I do look at the way the season ended, and it's what you said. It's not that he shouldn't be paid. It's not that he is.
I'm not saying I'm giving him the highest quarterback contract ever, or largest per year. That's not what I'm. But this whole idea that they're.
But don't you think all these guys expect that now?
No,
fair or not?
I don't. I mean, I just don't think that teams should pay the position. They should pay the player.
I agree 100%.
So I'm with that, but to try to nickel and dime Tua when you've been looking for a quarterback for 15 or 20 years is crazy to me. The Dolphins haven't won anything since Moby Dick was a guppy. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Like, really? So you're going to upset the apple cart and go look for another quarterback? Is that what you're going to do?
Well, the other thing with the Dolphins that I will say, Tyreek Hill's like right around 30 right now. I mean, he's got 2 or 3 years left, so this is kind of the window. Listen, but where we started this is there's a cap. And if we agree that hey, if Tua comes in and says, I want $1 more than Trevor Lawrence, we may have to reevaluate. I do agree that there is a higher upside and there's more of an unknown
to Tua
with Tua versus Dak. I guess my point coming in is if the baseline is, well, every guy resets the market and I expect to be next, that's where I draw the line and say, look, you're really, really, really good, but we can't reset the market with you based on your history.
But we did have, who are the 2 guys who signed Rob G this year who didn't reset the market? They didn't get higher than the previous guys because obviously Trevor Lawrence got the big deal, but right, Goff and Cousins got contracts, but they weren't higher. You know what I mean? Than that. So there is a bit of that where they're saying you're not resetting the market. Jared Goff didn't get it. He got what 50. He got like the highest, but not the highest total money. Correct? Like.
Well, I was going to say, with Cousins, he had to leave Minnesota because they wouldn't give him that money. Right. Now, Goff is an interesting one.
Because Goff stayed, took the Lions to the NFC Championship game where they hadn't been in 30 years.
Yep.
And he didn't get paid, didn't get the next highest the highest quarterback contract. And he got $51 million a year, but it wasn't the total money.
And what I would say is, there seems to be, to his credit, some level of self-awareness. I'm not that elite guy, but I got a pretty good situation. Here's the other thing with Goff. That contract came at the same time that they re-signed and they extended Penei Sewell off of that rookie contract, maybe one of the 2 or 3 best offensive tackles in the league, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So Goff had the self-awareness, and this is where I worry about Dak. We talked about this with Andrew Brandt, is with Dak, it's like everybody wants to make the most money you can possibly make. That's capitalism. We get it. But
that's what this country's built on, right?
That's what the country's built on. But Goff was like, you know what? I got one of the best tackles in the league. I got one of the best wide receivers in the league. I better make sure that those guys get paid too, as opposed to where I'm worried about Dak specifically, and potentially if you pay him what he wants to be paid, what does that mean for Micah? What does it mean for CeeDee Lamb, etc.?
Is that my fault? Do I have to worry about those guys?
I mean, you don't. But if you're the Cowboys, I think you have some tough decisions to make if that's what he says.